Good afternoon. Welcome to True Grit Crime. My name is Mama Libra Scales, aka Chrissy, and I'm here with the tea from today. So this morning I made the trip down to Fort Wayne, Indiana, to the Allen County Superior Court um, to go listen to the pretrial conference as well as the motion in limine uh, for the case of State of Indiana versus Richard Allen concerning the Delphi murders. Um, for anybody who's been following this case, this thing has been absolutely insane, upside down, inside out. Um, Fluffy Bunny, hi. You've been waiting for me to go live. Thank you. I'm sorry, like I'm just a little bit late. Like it's a 2 hour drive there for me, 2 hour drive back home. Today, it was just insane. Um, I originally had my alarm set for like 3:45 this morning, and I got up and my body was like, nope, and I fell back asleep. Uh, I have to say special thanks to my husband because he woke up and he was like, oh no, you're here. He's like, babe, you got to get up. You got to get up and go. And I was like, yeah, I got to go. And I had enough time to make it there. It was like, I would have made it there at like 7:56 a.m., which is fine because the courthouse don't open up till 8 o'clock. It didn't even look like there was that many people in line. Um, and I was good. Well, when I got like close to there and I was like right near the courthouse, for some reason my GPS all of a sudden switched from driving to walking, and it just started going crazy. I don't even know why I did it, but anyway, I made my way there. I got there on time. I got in the courtroom. Um, there are the very first row is like got like this built thing across it where it's reserved, and then the 2 rows are reserved for family. So there's 3 open rows on both sides. There was a lot of media people there, and a couple YouTubers. Um, the family was there, like not all of the family though. So like getting into it, like Becky Patty was there, Abby's grandma was there, uh, Tara was there, Kelsey was there, um, and so then you started seeing like obviously the Delphi homicide team that was there, um, Jerry Holman, Steve Mullins, Vito, same guys that were there, except Doug Carter was not there this time. Liggett was not there this time. Lesenby showed up this time. Um, so, like, as I was walking up to the courthouse to go in there, emotional storm while trying to take in this increased danger to Alan. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And we'll get into that because Rosie kind of tries to bring that to Gold's attention, but she ain't trying to hear any of that. You guys, if you would have heard the things that like were like, oh my goodness, in the courtroom, it was just crazy today. But I really believe that Rosie really gave it like a all out like stand your ground, like he's not going down. And he was going to let Miss Gold know like what he feels and what he thinks because he had no qualms or quarrels about biting his tongue this morning. And with as rude as she was to him, honestly, if I was Rosie, I probably would have been a little bit ruder to her, quite frankly. Um, Hold on one second. I accidentally hit something. Okay, so hi, Aaron. Hi, Yellow Jacket. It's nice to see you guys. Thank you for coming in. Thank anybody else who's here watching. So basically this morning, what was supposed to happen, you love my hair, the curls, it's actually natural. Like I've been getting up and like straightening my hair and stuff before court, and I didn't have enough time for that this morning, and so I just let my natural curl just take over. And because it's been rainy outside, like my curls just do like the extra like thing, so I got lucky. Yay. The Unraveling, thank you so much for attending and sharing. No, you're welcome, and thank you guys because like y'all put out a lot of information, a lot of things that really make your mind just go. And I'm like I said, I've been following this case from the beginning. And I have some things that like I can't share right now personally when it comes to this, but they will be coming because there's some things that like have happened in my life that have crossed paths, and I think you guys would really understandably, when I can share it, find it extremely interesting. And not just that, but you will understand why I'm so invested in all of this. Um so at any rate, um so we were supposed to do the pretrial conference and the motion in limine. Well, the pretrial conference kind of sort of happened, but the motion in limine, it didn't even make it today. Hi, nice to discover your channel. Hi, Michael Ashbrook. Oh my gosh, I am such a fan of you. I am such a fan of all of your legal work. I'm a fan of the filings you've put in, just everything that you've done for this case. Um, I absolutely loved watching all of the arguments at the Supreme Court hearing. And I know that you are one of the main people that had something to absolutely do with that. So thank you so much. Thank you for all of the knowledge that you have been willing to share with all of us lay people that don't, may not have an understanding of certain things. So I really appreciate that. And thank you for joining. Thank you for coming. Crime Chronicles Hub, thank you for sharing. Thank you guys for coming, really, honestly. So to get started, like y'all already know, like all the people was in there. Um, like today I saw Frank Meister, I saw Jinx, I saw Frosty. I didn't see Bob. I didn't see Murder Sheets. Um, and they, like I don't know, like I missed Bob being there. And Murder Sheets, like, I don't know, they're usually like really like front and center of like trying to get into stuff there. Um, like I said, a lot of media personnel there today, podcasters. Most of it was private podcasters and media personnel. Of course, family members showed up. There was no Mike Patty. Um, uh, Becky was there. I think it was her sister that was there, Tara, um, Kelsey, uh, Kathy Allen was there. Obviously, Richard Allen's mom was there. There was another guy that was with him that I'm not really sure who it was. It was a younger guy. I think he may work for the law firm that was there. Then, as far as the defense went, Rosie was there, Baldwin was there. The new chick that's signed on was there as well. And one of the first issues that started to happen when we start to like get into this docket or whatever is the chick, goes up with Rosie, and she's like, the judge looks at her and she's like, what are you doing here? And like Rosie's like, her appearance has been entered, filed in or whatever. And she was like, well, she's only supposed to be on a limited basis for appearance, and she's supposed to be in front of me concerning, this other issue. Like, she's supposed to be handling something. I'm sorry, like my brain is like, because I'm not sure exactly what it is at the second that she's supposed to be handling, because yeah, I know that it was in the filings, but at any rate, so Rosie's like, she's not here for like anything crazy. She's here, with us, but she's going to be working with us, like, straight up down the line, all going. And so, they have to file something that I guess will clarify that or whatever. And so then let's see, I already told you guys the first two rows were reserved for family. Then the 3 rows in the back were open. I was in the last row, on the 3rd row, and there were 3 seats next to me that have been reserved for jury staff. So like I said, it was definitely filled with media. Now, before court, Gull was kind of running around in the courtroom or whatever. She was wearing her little pair of khakis. She had on like this maroon button-up shirt. And she looked like she was go getting it this morning, but happy kind of like her attitude didn't seem terrible at first. Andy filed for the hearing transcript. Original action 3 might be coming. Just a guess. No other reason to get the transcript script I can think of. Yeah, so Augur. Yes, I call her Augur. Okay, you call her Augur. Thank you, Michael. I didn't want to butcher her last name. So I just put, JA or whatever. Um so also, yeah, when I was walking up to the courthouse, by the way, I wanted to tell you guys there was 4 different black SUVs parked outside. They had a transport van, obviously, police cars parked outside. And today's hearing specifically took place in the same courtroom that it was the infamous, that we heard the infamous, there's been a turn of events, so it was a lot different this time than it was last time. It wasn't nearly as filled all the way because the first time we were in that courtroom, you couldn't find anywhere to be around. So, but yeah, so she was entered in for a limited appearance, and Rozzy had requested a general record. Rozzy had asked to go ahead and approach the bench after this off top, and Goal was asking why he wanted to approach the bench, and he said, listen, I just want to be sure that I understand what your court rules and your boundaries are here, so she had granted some sort of DOC order this morning, and I'm not sure what it was because the acoustics, like I said, are absolutely terrible in there. But so she said something about granting a DOC order. I'm thinking maybe that's the transport. But then they start to get into, she tells Rozzy, she's like, okay, well, we're here for a motion to limine and this pretrial conference. Rozzy looks at her and he's like, I don't have anything to do with that motion to limine. He's like, the motion to limine is Nick's filing. But, the pretrial conference issues, he said, I just want to make sure that there is enough time for everybody to be able to present their evidence. And he said, and as it's looking right now, there's not enough time for our side of the deal to present evidence. And she's like, I have a 12-count indictment and they're interested. Oh wow, that's crazy. So at any rate, so he's like, I want to make sure, he's like, there's not enough time for trial. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? There is enough time. And he's like, no, because as from what I understand, he said, the state's sitting here and they're about to call over 100 witnesses. And, he said half the people on the list are listed, are duplicated on the list. And he's like, then you're looking at what the defense has for calling witnesses. And he's like, that's over, we're looking at over 200 witnesses by this point. And he's like, there's no way that 2 weeks is going to be enough to get through all of this. And Goal was really, really just trying to nip it. She's like, no, no, that's enough time. This will work. That's enough time. And Rozzy tells her, we need substantially more time. He said the defense itself needs at least 15 days to present their side of the case, just alone. And he said, I don't know what's going to happen is, we're going to get to trial and it's going to go from the 13th to the 31st. And what are we going to do? If there's these many witnesses coming from the prosecution, he said, are we going to get to, May 30th? And then we have a day or two to present our case. He said, that's not enough time. This is not enough time to get everything through. This is not enough time for Mr. Allen to receive a proper defense. And Judge Goal, she's adamant. She was like, this is enough time. This is enough time. And Rozzy's like, no. And he's like, and when you scheduled this, he said, you didn't ask to how long are you going to need? You never asked us that. You just went and you scheduled this. He said, I've never been before a judge that has scheduled a trial for the beginning date and the end date. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, you mean to tell me you've never been in front of a judge who schedule you for trial? And Rosie's like, obviously I've been in front of a judge that's scheduled for trial, but I've never had a judge say, okay, well, the trial is going to last 2 weeks and it's going to end on this date and that's it. And you get what you get and you don't throw a fit, basically. That's not how that works. And so she's like, well, the jury summons have already gone out. There had been 450 jury summons already sent out. And she's like, and the dates are firm. She's like, I've already asked people on those dates to reserve these times and to be away from their family, these jurors. She said it costs money, and I have a contract with companies to house these jurors, to transport these jurors. She's like, and you can't just go back and change that. And there was no kind of workaround. She said, according to trial court rule 4, basically she's telling him that when it's set, it's set. That's it. There's nothing that they can do. And she's like, so you guys are going to have to figure it out. She's like, you guys are going to have to split this time, and you're going to have to figure out who gets what time and all that stuff, And Rosie had indicated that communication with Nick has been absolutely poor. He will not talk on the phone. He will not do anything but communicate by electronic mail. They're still just now, receiving more stuff. More stuff is coming in. There's a problem with the chain of custody. And it's just insane. And she's, telling them that she's done the best to streamline this time for them. And of course, it's not going to work. Well, I had seen something about somebody had listed that there was like 115 witnesses slated for the prosecution and like 78 slated for the defense. And so Nick says, Your Honor, we're already trying to deal with that, and we're trying to get this down. He said we've tried to cut the fat off of this as much as possible, and we think that as we've cut the fat off of this, that we could get this down to 45 witnesses for the prosecution. And so then he mentions that at least 12 of their witnesses are going to be coming from the Department of Corrections inmates in there. And so then turn around and he also mentioned something about wanting to file he was going to file his witness list under seal, but he was he told Judge Gold that he wasn't sure how that worked with filing your motion under seal. He didn't know, he wasn't sure how to do it. And I'm kind of floored at that, because Nick, I think that was in Law School 101. If you don't know how to file a motion under seal, I think that we're in trouble here. What the fuck are you doing in the prosecution's office if you don't know how to do that? You mean to tell me you can't go to somebody that is maybe older or experienced, or, you also have a deputy prosecutor and you've got this other chick helping you out. You can't go to that chick and ask her how to file a motion to seal? Okay. So then he tells her he wants to file this document over to the motion to seal. But then he's like, well, I guess I really don't have to file it under a motion to seal, because there's really nothing in there that's substantially crazy that has to be sealed. And Rosie pipes up and he says, listen, we haven't even been able to file for a witness list ourselves. He said under the fear that it's going to be leaked. And we don't want that happening, And he talk again, he points out the issues with the chain of custody, the not being able to speak on the phone. And, Goal is irritated, and she's like, it's not like we can have a conference call. We can't have a 6 people conference call here. And she's like, and I no longer will open emails or deal with emails. She said, because my emails keep ending up in personal filings. She said, and it's really getting old. She does not like it. She's very angry about those ending up in filings. So she said she would no longer be dealing with anybody through email, that they would deal with issues nowhere but in the courtroom. So she again tries to strong arm Rosie into taking this 2 weeks, and that you're sacked. You're sacked with this 2-week trial. You're not going to get anything past this. You're going to have to figure out how many days. And Rosie's like, no, this is not going to work. I need 15 days. I need them. He said, I've been saying since September, October. I've been describing, how this is going to be, how deep this is. And she's still arguing with him. That's sufficient time. And you guys need to split this time. And so she kind of looks at Nick and she's like, how many days are you going to need to get through your case? And Nick's like, well, I don't know, Judge. I don't know if I'm going to need 7 days. I don't know if I'm going to need 8 days. I don't know if I'm going to need more days than that. I don't know how it's going to go with the rebuttal and all of this stuff. He's like, and when I cross-examine and re-cross-examine, and I've never done this before. So you've never worked a jury trial, but you were an attorney, but you've never worked a jury trial before in your life? Come on, Nick. Again, what are you doing in the prosecutor's office? If you can't do basic things like that, or you cannot gauge how long it should take you to run through your witnesses, run through your case, the facts, all of that stuff, honey, you are in the wrong job, and you need to put a resignation letter in right now, because it ain't working for you. Okay. And I just don't think that this should be your guinea pig case, period. So Judge Gall basically asks them what they want to do. And Rosie and Baldwin want to have a serious conversation about what's going to happen, but there are people sitting there. There are guards standing all around the area. They feel like they're under scrutiny, and Rosie asks the judge if they could have a minute to step out so that they could have a discussion. And she's like, why? And he was like, because there are like a bunch of ears in here. He's like, and I would like to talk to my colleague and my client without a bunch of people here being able to hear what's going on, everything. He's like, this is my client's right, and this is what needs to happen. So she goes out there, you know what I mean? And they go out there and they discuss, whatever for 5 minutes, and they come back. And she's like, okay, well, have you figured it out? And Rosie's like, well, Your Honor, I can make a suggestion. And she's like, what's that? And Rosie says, maybe because there's been 450 juror summons that have gone out. There are 450 people who have received these summons. He said, and we're thinking that as we're going through jury selection, he said, we want to do voir dire questioning for about 50 jurors at a time. He said, and maybe we would be able to ask each juror if they were willing to go the extra mile and stay past the allotted time, past what is sequestered on the document for the jury summons, and see if they would be willing to do that. And then we could go forward and try to make some changes within the transportation and the lodging. Again, Goal was very argumentative about this, and she's like, no, you can't, blah, 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 blah. And Rosie is like, okay, if you can't do this, he's like, then we cannot proceed forward and only have these 2 weeks. I'm telling you, and I've told you, I need 15 days. She was still steadily arguing. she like started snapping at Rosie, and she was like, you know, I've been on the bench 25 years and I've presided over a lot of high profile cases. And she starts talking about this case that she presided over that had to do with the bombing with dead victims. And then she cites like 3 or 4 other cases where there's been multiple victims, high profile cases. And she's like, I know how to schedule. I know how to run this. This is how this should run. And basically, you're not going to tell me, you need to take these 2 weeks and be happy with it. And Rosie's like, no, no, I need the time that I need, you know, and she's still steadily arguing with him. And Rosie looked up at her and he said, you don't know this case. You don't know anything about this case. He said, it's crazy how I've been working on this case 15 months. I've had all of this stuff in front of me. He said stuff continues to still piles in. He said, while there are motions that are sitting in your docket that you haven't even bothered to look at. You haven't bothered to read. You haven't bothered to rule. You haven't even bothered to set a hearing. Oh, burn, burn. There was a girl sitting in front of me at the front row, the front row. And when he said, you don't know this case, she said, oh, the gasp that you heard in that courtroom. Oh, he had a right to say it. I mean, how many times do you have to dance around this issue? Rosie is clearly and blatantly telling you that he needs this time. There's all this stuff that he needs. Then all of a sudden, Nick pipes up and talks about that he's going to be filing confessions under seal. And Rosie just, like, you could just see, like Rosie was like, yeah, you know what I mean? So then in the meantime, you are giving him basically an arsenal of more stuff that he can just pluck out and do more with. Like, oh my gosh, it was crazy. And so he's saying, I need this time. She's unwilling to compromise. Basically, it boiled down to she was irritated by the end of it. And she did not even want to deal with the motion in limine today. Okay. And let me tell you how irritated and how like she was. And it must have pissed her off that Rosie said it, because she immediately was like, okay, you know what? She's like, we're not dealing with this motion in limine today. She's like, we're going to move the motion in limine and we're going to schedule it. She scheduled it for May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. There's going to be 3 days for this. So not only is the motion in limine going to be heard, but there are 2 pending motion to suppresses that have been filed. There's a motion to compel, and she wants to do a motion to admissibility. So she said that we are going to be in court at 9 a.m. in Delphi, Indiana, aka Carroll County. And she said we're going to hear every single one of those motions, excluding the Frank's motions, because Rosie had asked her if she was willing to hear on those, and she was like, no, I'm not going to hear on those. So funny. That's the opposite of what I'm hearing from others in the courtroom. I sense a little bias here. What do you mean? You sense a little bias? She did actually schedule a hearing outside of her courtroom. And that's what's important. That's what's important, I think, is that Rosie got across to her and it got her go to make her file those motions. Because to me, like, I'm sitting there listening to her snarky little attitude about everything. And I'm telling you right now, she was very like snarky about this. She did not want to give them those 15 days. She wanted them to get this clean cut, slated and stacked into that 2 weeks that she had slated for proceedings in the first place. So, I mean, I don't know, but it's whatever. Um, so let's see. And, Nick did reiterate that he wants to take the time, you know, to go through things, but rush, so it's not to keep the court held up. That was Nick's say about it. Um, in all honesty, I can see 3 weeks even for lots of evidence and witnesses. Exactly. And that was what Rozzy was saying. Rozzy basically told them, like, it's going to take that much, you know? So, I mean, I'm just telling you exactly what I sat there and listened to said. So, um, she moved the trial dates out to October 15th. The trial is going to run from October 15th to November 15th at 9 a.m. And it's going to be, Monday through Saturday. I think she's still going to exclude the Sunday dates or days or whatever. But yeah. And she made it very clear that she refuses to communicate through email anymore. She does not want them ending up in the filings. They're going to be ruling and reviewing on admissibility of things in the trial. There were some documents filed today for Gold to recuse herself, a motion to recuse or whatever again, or disqualify, a motion to disqualify. So, yeah. But I don't know. I just think that it's crazy because when they took that break and they were going to talk about stuff, there were some people that were upset. Like Frank Meister stood up and he's like, she ain't gonna go for this. She ain't gonna let this fly, Like there are people that are saying, like, it's not going down like that. She's not going to let it go down like that. But she said she is not going to communicate over the phone, and she is not going to communicate over email. She is not going to even consider opening up emails. She said she is tired of her emails ending up in personal filings. So, did you hear if Baldwin asked Gold if she wanted a copy of the motion to have her recused? Yes, I did. And she said no, she would see it when it was filed. He had a copy for the prosecution, and he had a copy for Gold, and he had a copy for his records. So, was it definitely confessions he wanted filing under seal? Yes, I believe so. So, I mean, y'all are welcome to look at the transcript when it comes out or whatever, but I'm telling you right now, like, I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not going to take my time to drive all the way there, sit there, listen to this shit, and come back, and then whatever. So, hi Shades, 50 Shades of Faye. Welcome. So yeah, I'm a little behind, but confessions under seal. Okay, Slick Nick. Yeah, he wants them filed in the motion under seal, and he specifically told Goal he was unsure how to file them under seal. He was unsure how to file them under seal. So, again, if you don't know how to file something under seal, maybe you should not be a prosecutor. Okay, he was a defense attorney for a long time. You're trying to tell me that you didn't have not one single client that you have ever had to file something under seal? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Thank you. And you sound like you have a cold, like I do. Feel better. Thank you. I appreciate it. My allergies are a little bit like when the seasons change, my allergies go absolutely nuts. But true great crime, you are the most detailed. I love watching your notes from the court. Thank you very much. Like I said, I feel it's important to take everything down, take everything in. And like I said, there were a couple of things that I was not able to hear all the way because the acoustics are so bad in there. But I try to get about everything as much as possible that I can. And it's important. Like, we don't have people in there that are going to be able to bring um cameras in. They're not going to be able to do the audio, which I think is absolutely absurd. There is got to be a reason why they want this lockdown so badly that they don't want anyone to know. And that's not the way this is supposed to work. There's supposed to be full transparency in the public eye. Okay. I can understand, like, if they have some things that they file under seal and they want under seal and they want under wraps until trial and they're ready to release that. I get it. You don't have to let everything out of the bag right now. But I do think that it's important to let as many people see and witness what is going on right now. Because there's a lot going on. What did Gall say when Nick said he didn't know how to file under seal? She really didn't say anything. She really didn't really have too much to say about it at all. Because then Nick was very quick to say that the document that he was filing didn't necessarily have to be filed under seal because it didn't have anything of significant information in it. Like, I guess, like, you know how they filed a document and it ended up having like people's names in it and stuff like that. Like, I think that that's what he's saying. Like, it doesn't have anybody's specific name in it or specific information in it, is what I think he was referring to when it comes to that. He loved the jealous look of dog one when dog two got close to Mama. Aw. Yeah, these are the babies. I got my Aurora. Dexter's on the floor and Bernard is on the couch next to me. We just recently did a rescue for Bernard this last weekend. So he came from a home where he wasn't very well taken care of. And he's a little bit underweight and his coat's a little crazy, but we're going to get him back to the way he needs to be. Did you see Brad Holder there? I've heard people say they saw him there. I mean, I saw a guy there, but he didn't look like Brad Holder to me. But yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was Brad Holder. Oh, you have a dog named Dexter too? That's awesome. Yeah, Dexter. My Dexter is 3. Dexter, you want to come say hi? Here, come here. Come say hi. No, you're sleeping. Come here. You just roll on your back for belly rubs. You're a silly goose. But yeah, his name's Dexter. And then I have my Siberian Husky. Her name is Aurora. And of course, like, Bernard. So my Dexter's 3. I got him during the lockdown and all that stuff. So, but yeah, do you guys have any other questions or anything like that? Because you rescued your husky and his name is Jax. That's awesome. That's an awesome name. Yeah, Aurora is a year old and Bernard is a year old as well. So they're both still like puppies in the same age or whatever. You want to come say hi, Dex? So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for coming by and listening. Body language, who looked confident, who looked insecure? I mean, Rozzy, in my opinion, looked confident. Like, he had a lot to say and he wasn't afraid to say it. Nick didn't really like do too much but kind of like sit at the table. He didn't say much of anything except interjecting to let them know that he had some things that needed to be filed. Letting them know that he wasn't sure exactly how many days he needed, for trial purposes. And yeah, I mean, that was about it. I'm still curious as to the info Nick thought made RA look guilty. I don't know. because they really didn't discuss it. Oh, and Rossi did say something about something about the housing for Richard Allen. He wanted to say something about that, but Goal was very quick to ask him, did he really want to have that conversation in front of everyone? Um, so like, because extending this out further, like the date further, that just makes Rick Allen have to be in there that much longer. Yeah, Rick was there. He was at the table. He looked just like he did at the last hearing. The last two hearings that I've seen him, he looked a complete 360, like complete turnaround than what he looked when I first saw him. The very first time I saw him, he was very, very skinny, and he just looked very frail and very sickly. Again, this time he still has like that color in his face. He looks like he's put on a little bit more weight back to where he was, before, like not big, but he's put on some weight. And he was alert. And, yeah. So the defense already had the transcripts of the confessions. And that info is under seal, lock and key. Yeah. That's pretty much it. So the motion in limine, because I thought that they were going to do the motion in limine today. And basically, I just feel like when it finally got to that, Goal was already seriously agitated with everything that had been going on, as far as, the back and forth between setting the trial dates. But yeah, so I felt like she was pushed enough on the irritation side that she set those hearings so that nobody could really say anything else, like, okay, I've set the hearings for these. The only things that I haven't set the hearings for is the Frank's hearing. The improvement in Allen, especially looking alert, is hugely important. It is. It's very much important, I don't know what's going to happen next, but what I will do is I will be sure to go to the next 3 hearings, all 3 days. I guess, like, that's pretty much all I can do. And then, do you think Goal had already decided she wanted the trial pushed forward? Probably. I mean, because it was slated for October to begin with. And then when they, requested the fast and speedy, she moved it up to May, like very quickly on them. Like, it's coming very quickly. But I think the problem is they're still receiving stuff late, like discovery items late. They still hadn't received all of this stuff, and this stuff has been out like lengthy, like on a far it's like a far length of time in between when they're receiving stuff, I guess. So it's like, that's another reason why it's dragging out, is because they're slammed with all of these new documents and stuff that's coming in. And while they're slammed with all these new stuff trying to go through it, here it is again, that basically they feel like it's giving Nick leeway to kind of like pluck stuff out and do with what he will with it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, you guys will see the transcript when it comes out, and yeah. But if you like, what you hear, or, whatever you want to talk about in the comments, please feel free to leave comments. And I appreciate each and every one of you that have come to check this out. I look forward to keep on going to these hearings, keep on covering it. And I'm going to try to do more lives like every day, like even if they're like just small lives, just to like talk about the issues and stuff here between. And thank you for listening. Have a great and beautiful day. Bye.